Hey, it's Dr. Infinity. Welcome to Whitepill Media.
There's something I want to show you. Come on, I'm not gonna turn you in. I'm your friend. Come on.
And this week I'm going to be talking about Cadfael. It's a British TV series. It came out in 1994 and it ended up running for 13 episodes. It's based on a book series. I haven't read the books. I might at some point in the future, but it stars Derek Jacobi, who I'm a big fan of. He's Claudius and I, Claudius. It's like the best TV show I've ever seen. I highly recommend that. But this is more of half of a white pill. It's not much of a recommendation, but I still felt it was interesting, and I'm going to talk about it. The series is about this time in English history called the Anarchy, and it's this point, it's like the civil war between King Stephen and Empress Maud, and Empress Maud is the daughter of Henry I, and he ended up leaving her the throne, but King Stephen and some other like English nobles didn't want to go along with that, so he declared himself king, and like there's the civil war and everything, and I'm like, this is awesome, that's really cool for a background. And Cadfael is a monk, and he's at this abbey, and he's kind of I guess I'd call him like a medieval like detective slash like CSI guy. He kind of works with the sheriff of of Shrewsbury. You know, he's the under sheriff, and he's sort of like a forensics guy because like there's murders and like stuff like that, and he like helps like identify like he helps like solve crime and whatever. So I guess I'd call it like a kind of a medieval detective show. And there's definitely some interesting stuff in there, but overall it's not like a full recommendation. I probably wouldn't watch the show again, but I can kind of get into some of the stuff I didn't like and that I felt it could have done better. It opens really well. The first episode, so spoilers going ahead right now. So the first episode, we open in 1138 Shrewsbury, okay? And we have the civil war going on with King Stephen, right, and Empress Maud. And we do get to meet King Stephen just in this one episode, just in the first episode. We never see Empress Maud. I was kind of like hoping we would, but we never did because I didn't know anything about this period of English history, and I thought that was really interesting and cool. So Cadfael is a monk. He used to be a crusader, and he was there like at the fall of Jerusalem. So he's got like this really cool backstory and everything. And he's essentially like helping solve the murders because like King Stephen like had 94 men or a number like that hanged, for treason, right? Because they were in the service of Empress Maud, but there's an extra body. So he's helping to identify like who this extra man is because it means someone is guilty of murder. And we have Hugh Barringer, and Hugh Barringer becomes the sheriff at the end of the episode. And, Brother Cadfael, he has like this apprentice monk, but really it's this girl in disguise, Godith. Godith was kind of interesting here because she's supposed to be like the intended bride to Hugh Barringer. Like they were engaged when I guess this is like a arranged marriage type of deal. She's for Empress Maud, and he's obviously for King Stephen. So we get to see like kind of like we see like Hugh is kind of like a bad guy at first, And one thing I kind of wanted, because Cadfael obviously is a monk, he can't really like date or marry or have like a romantic interest in the series. But I thought Hugh would kind of act as that surrogate. But unfortunately, like outside of this episode with Godith, because Godith is pretty cute, once she cleans up, we don't really get to see like anything like that with Hugh after this. So it was just like, I think the show's like, I know this might be weird to say, but it's kind of like lacking a kind of romantic angle, or I don't know. I feel like most shows have like some sort of love interest or something, but this one doesn't. This one really doesn't. Like at first, you think that Hugh Barringer is like a villain and he's going to be like an antagonist that Cadfael is going to have to like defeat or like at least like work around throughout the series, but like he turns out to be like a pretty decent guy. I like a little back and forth between like Hugh and Cadfael, and like we have one of the problems I had with the show is that Hugh Barringer, we only have 13 episodes of the show, right? We only have 13 episodes, but Hugh Barringer changes actors 3 times. So it's hard to get like somewhat invested. And the first one, Sean Pertwee, I believe that's how you pronounce it. I'm not sure. But he's only Hugh for the first season, and that sucks because he's definitely the best. He's the best actor of the three, and we only get him for this small amount of time, so it was kind of harder to form more of an attachment to him. But we have an interesting first episode with the Civil War. We have King Stephen, and you're like, oh my god, like this is really cool. Like we're in a really cool time of history. But it doesn't quite keep that up. One of the problems that I found with the series is that, one, Cadfael is a monk, right? So all of this kind of like, he doesn't have much of a personal life outside of the monastery and outside of like his like monk duties, if that makes sense. Like I think with other kind of detective shows, you would have like his romantic interest or like his wife and like his kids and like kind of stuff that he's up to, you know, and blah, blah, blah. But with Cadfael, it's just, he's a monk, he's a good guy, and that's not a bad thing. But there's not too much of like a B plot, I would guess, you know? And I think that's something that like shows of this nature, like kind of detective-y shows would be like, here's kind of our romantic interest of the week or whatever. But with Cadfael, we don't have any of that really. So all we really have is more or less just we're heavily reliant on the kind of murder mystery of the episode. And if that murder mystery is like a little on the weaker side, then like the whole episode is weaker because there's not really a plot B. You know, there's not really a plot B where it's like, here's something going on in Cadfael's personal life. He doesn't really have much of a personal life because he is a monk. Still, like, it's an interesting like show and like to do it like that, but you're like really, really heavily reliant on Cadfael, on like the murder, right? Also, like in terms of like antagonists and like reoccurring characters, we really don't have too many reoccurring characters. Like there's Cadfael, obviously. There's Hugh Barringer, who unfortunately changes actors a few times. We have Brother Pryor Robert, and Jerome, and these are like small antagonists. These aren't like guys trying to like kill Cadfael or anything like that. They're fellow monks and brothers. And then we have like Brother Oswin, who's kind of not like an idiot, but he's sort of a kind of clumsy guy that he follows Cadfael's like leave. You know, he kind of looks to him for guidance. And this is who we got. They're not bad people, but they're not like really interesting. They're not like super interesting. The second episode is like there's a groom's dad was like, there's a wedding and like the groom's dad was killed, and you know it turns out that it was this his daughter and this guy and they're lovers and they're gonna leave together, and it's like it's okay, you know, it's like it's okay. I was really hoping that the kind of series would be like you know, like King Stephen would be at Shrewsbury one time, and then like Maud would be there a few episodes later, and then like him again, and the like kind of a back and forth thing where we'd have like more of a focus on the Civil War. We do get to see some of the stuff going on and some of the intrigue of the Civil War, but we don't get like really like the big power players like we did in the first episode. So in the third episode, we have this leper, because we have this little leper colony. So we have this leper called Lazarus, right? Evil Baron, you know, and he's just kind of a piece of shit. The Baron ends up getting killed by his nephew. We have this leper who actually Cadfael knew during the Crusades. He was at Jerusalem with Cadfael. And he didn't die, and he came home when he heard that I believe it's his niece, Yvetta, was an orphan, right? And he ended up killing Picard. In the fourth episode, we have this guy called Bonnell, and you know, we have Bonnell's wife has a son from an earlier marriage, and then we figure out, and Cadfael figures it out, that her name is Rochildis, and they were engaged, and they were supposed to get married when he came home from the Crusades, but he waited too long to come home, right? So we have some like a little like past romance thing, and that we have some good stuff there. So we have some decent stuff there. You know, we get a little more of like Cadfael's past, a little more of his personal life, and then we get this new abbot, Rodolphus, right? We have these two noble children that are missing in the Shire, right? And they are like nobles on the side of Empress Maud. So there's like this manhunt manhunt out for them. We have this good knight that's like defending them, and then it turns out that Cadfael had like a bastard son when he was on the Crusades, which is like kind of cool and interesting. He can't like he obviously can't like say, tell him like, you are my son, I'm your father, but he's figured it out on his own. And like he's proud, like he's happy with that. And it's like that's nice, but like kind of the stuff I kind of think like hurts the show a bit is like lacking reoccurring characters. And it's probably accurate to the books, right? It's probably accurate to the books. Or I don't know if it is, but I assume so. But it's like we're never going to see his son again. We're not going to see like Richildis again. And like all these characters that we meet in these episodes, like unfortunately, like all the time we build with them, it's just for that one episode, and the episodes are like an hour and 20 minutes each, but a lack of like reoccurring characters outside of the monastery, I think definitely hurts the show a bit. All right, episode 6, it's sweet. We have a guy called Aliard. He shows up, and dude, it's Ian fucking McNeice. I am so thrilled whenever he shows up. He was in Hornblower for like an episode. He's here and there in little things. He was in Sharp, right, for like an episode. But he's the newsreader in Rome. Like that HBO Rome, not a really good show. There's some good parts in there, but overall I didn't really care for the show. But he's the newsreader in Rome. So that was really cool to see him here. It's like it's an okay episode. I would say like a lot of the episodes are okay. There are some like more standout ones, and it's like it's an interesting like time period and setting, but like the Civil War is very much like in the background. You know what I mean? Which I guess makes sense. I really liked episode 7. I think that I would definitely rate it up there because. So number 7 I liked quite a bit because this is like one of the few, or like I think it's probably, I think it is the only episode where we get to leave the Abbey here. We get to leave the Abbey because we have this monk who's having visions of this Welsh saint called Saint Winifred, and like apparently he's had visions of her, and they want to take Winifred's bones back to Shrewsbury for like pilgrims and such. Okay. So this Welsh crowd is opposed to them, obviously. The guy with the visions, who's like a little crazy and out there, he ends up being the murderer, and he killed this Welsh lord, but they have to cover it up because they can't like have a monk be responsible for like a murder. You know what I mean? 8th episode's also really good. This is the Rose Rent, and it's about Edith, who is the wife of this man, Edward, and Edward ends up dying. But now it's like afterwards, and there are all these men just like trying to get with her, and she just wants to be alone, and she's kind of like attacked on all sides. I think it does a good job where it's like, you think a lot of these scumbags could be responsible, for like killing a monk who tends to this rose garden that she left, for the monks, and this other guy's killed, and you think it could be a few people. Turns out it's her cousin, which also like works, I thought it was pretty good. I wasn't really expecting him there. And she ends up with this good guy, this bronzesmith at the end. So I liked episode 8. It's nice. The 9th one. The 9th one's good, we have this fair going on, and then we have this guy who was killed, and then the real reason he was killed was that like he's kind of a spy, and like he had a list of names that were like loyal to Empress Maud or whatever. Cadfael's holding these names, and then they kill the bad guy, they kill the murderer, and Berenger, like he debates it. It's not for very long, but he's like he considers like taking out Cadfael so that he can be promoted if he hands over these names to King Stephen. And I don't know if there's more of a darker side to Berenger in the books. But I liked it. Unfortunately, we don't get like a ton of Berenger and kind of this role, and like the actors are just kind of, they just feel like fill-ins, right? Cadfael ends up burning the list, and he and Berenger have a good little talk at the end, because they're friends, they love each other. Oh, and the 10th, he's only here for one episode. But Father Aelnoth, he's sweet. He's this mean-ass dude, but he's got this wicked-ass cane, He's got this wicked staff, And we have like an okay whatever plot with like a spy ended up killing him and etc. etc. The 11th, we're in the year 1144. There's a civil war, and flooding's going on. Apparently Empress Maud is like attacked and burned down an abbey, so we're getting some intrigue, and I was still like hoping at this point that she might show up, at least for one episode. Oh, they did something really cool. I didn't know this was a real thing. Apparently it's a real thing. It's the Sortes Biblicae. It's trial by Bible. This was like a thing in like the Middle Ages, I believe. I only briefly looked it up, but it's like you're blindfolded, you're placed in front of a Bible, you flip it to a random page and like point to, just put your like finger on the page, and then you read out that passage that you're pointing to. Another guy does it, and whichever passage seems like it favors you in a disagreement, that's what they go with, because like it's the voice of God in heaven. And I'm like, that's awesome. That was really cool. That was really neat. There's like this rich guy that ended up killing a bunch of people, because he's like trying to get money and shit. It's like, whatever. But the Sortes Biblicae, that was cool. I like this in 12 because we have a monk who was formerly a potter, and he ended up leaving his wife to join the abbey. And like, I guess this is some of the more stuff that I wanted, because like we have some intrigue with like his past life, like in confronting his new life as a monk. We have that stuff going on. There's this thing that happened with the potter's wife ended up having a affair with like her landlord, and like the landlord's wife is this nice woman who's sick, and then to kind of duke it out with the potter's wife, they play like a game with like hemlock, and I guess hemlock is like some type of poison, or I guess it can like help you, but like in too high of a dose it will kill you. So they like pour it in. It's kind of like Princess Bride, where it's like you shuffle the cups around and then you both drink, and then whoever dies. Episode 13, we have a holy day, and it's like a holy day for cripples. I guess this was a real thing. And we have like a few different like characters that get brought into the abbey, and we kind of have a locked room situation where a body is found, but it can only be like these people that are in this room. So it's like kind of cool. It's a little different from like the other episodes. It turns out, it was these two brothers, like one brother seems to be like punishing the other, and it turns out that brother's kind of just projecting his own guilt and sin onto him, because like they're both somewhat responsible for killing their father, and that's the body. And like, it's a fine episode. I did like the locked room idea. It goes a little outside of the comfort zone that a lot of the episodes kind of fall into. So I liked that. But the series just ends there. There's not a resolution to the war, and I guess that makes sense. But it feels like since we're starting episode 1, like with the war, I thought we would have like more of that going on. Maybe the books do cover more and go more in depth with it, but overall, there's some interesting stuff. I like the time period. I like Derek Jacobi. Like, I think a lot of the acting's like pretty fine to good, but it's just missing some key elements for me, where it's like a half-hearted recommendation, where it's like there's some interesting stuff here and there, but nothing like boom, whoa. You know what I mean? Probably gonna be down to like one episode a week for like, making one review a week, maybe like with a shorter little pair video. That's probably what I'm going to be doing kind of going forward. I'm just kind of busy with some stuff right now. That might change in a few weeks or months, but I'll at least try to have like one video a week. Anyways, you can check out iClaudius. I have a review of that. If you're looking for like just another TV show to check out, I'll recommend Sharp. Sharp's really good. That's with Sean Bean, and it's about this British riflemen during the Napoleonic Wars. Very good. Really big recommendation there. Anyways, thanks for watching. Dr. Infinity out.